Today is the 6th of August, and we come to Sutta number 41, Saleyyaka Sutta, the Brahmins of Sala. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was wandering by stages in the Kosalan country with a large Sangha of monks, and eventually he arrived at a Kosalan Brahmin village named Sala. The Brahmin householders of Sala heard. The recluse Gotama, the son of the Sakyans, who went forth from a Sakyan clan, has been wandering in the Kosalan country with a large Sangha of monks and has come to Sala. Now a good report of Master Gotama has been spread to this effect. That Blessed One is Arahant Sammasambuddha, perfect in true knowledge and conduct, sublime, knower of worlds, incomparable leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, enlightened, blessed. He declares this world with its gods, its maras and its brahmas, this generation with its recluses and brahmins, its princes and its people, which he has himself realized with direct knowledge. He teaches the Dhamma good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, with the right meaning and phrasing, and he reveals a holy life that is utterly perfect and pure. Now it is good to see such arahants. Then the Brahmin householders of Sala went to the Blessed One. Some paid homage to the Blessed One and sat down at one side. Some exchanged greetings with him, and when this courteous and amiable talk was finished, sat down at one side. Some extended their hands in reverential salutation towards the Blessed One and sat down at one side. Some pronounced their name and clan in the Blessed One's presence and sat down at one side. Some kept silent and sat down at one side. Stop here for a moment. Here, the Buddha has a good reputation, so he has all these names. The Blessed One in Pali is Bhagava. Remember the Pali chant, Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijja Charana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati Satta Deva Manusanang Buddho Bhagavati. These are the 10 names of the Buddha, 10 epithets of the Buddha. So here in this book they like to translate the Arahant as accomplished and fully enlightened, refers to the Sammasambuddha. But I prefer to use the Pali in these two cases. When they were seated, they said to the Blessed One, Master Gotama, what is the cause and condition why some beings here, on the dissolution of the body after death, reappear in states of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell? And what is the cause and condition why some beings here, on the dissolution of the body after death, reappear in a happy destination, even in the heavenly world? And the Buddha said, Householders, it is by reason of conduct, not in accordance with the Dhamma, by reason of unrighteous conduct, that some beings here, on the dissolution of the body after death, reappear in states of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. It is by reason of conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, by reason of righteous conduct, that some beings here, on the dissolution of the body after death, reappear in a happy destination, even in the heavenly world. Let's stop here for a moment. So the Buddha here is saying that rebirth in a woeful plane is because of unrighteous conduct, namely conduct not in accord with the Dhamma. And beings reappear in happy destinations because of righteous conduct, conduct in accordance with the Dhamma. But a lot of people, because they don't know the Dhamma, they don't know how to conduct themselves according to the Dhamma. So that's why it's very important to know the Dhamma. Otherwise, a lot of ignorant people, they go to the woeful plains of rebirth. And they said, we do not understand the detailed meaning of Master Gotama's utterance, which he has spoken in brief without expounding the detailed meaning. It would be good if Master Gotama would teach us the Dhamma so that we might understand the detailed meaning of his utterance. Then householders, listen and attend closely to what I shall say. Yes, Venerable Sir, they replied. The Blessed One said, Householders, there are 3 kinds of bodily conduct, not in accordance with the Dhamma: unrighteous conduct, there are 4 kinds of verbal conduct, not in accordance with the Dhamma, unrighteous conduct. There are 3 kinds of mental conduct, not in accordance with the Dhamma, unrighteous conduct. I stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is talking about the 10 unskillful karmas, unrighteous conduct through the body, speech and mind. This we have heard quite often. And how householders, are there 3 kinds of bodily conduct, not in accordance with the Dhamma, unrighteous conduct. Here someone kills living beings. He is murderous, bloody-handed, given to blows and violence, merciless to living beings. He takes what is not given. He takes by way of theft the wealth and property of others in the village or forest. He misconducts himself in sensual pleasures. He has intercourse with women who are protected by their mother and father, brother, sister or relatives, who have a husband, who are protected by law, and even with those who are garlanded in token of betrothal. That is how there are 3 kinds of bodily conduct, not in accordance with the Dhamma, unrighteous conduct. Stop here for a moment. So here, the 3 misconducts through the body is killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. You notice here, sexual misconduct is defined as having sexual relations with 4 types of persons. One is somebody who is married. Secondly, one who is engaged, as a fiancé or fiancée. And the third one is somebody who is underage, protected by mother, father, means underage. And the fourth one, protected by law. That means by law they are not supposed to engage in sexual relations. For example, maybe monks and nuns, and maybe the king's concubines. So if somebody else other than the king has a relationship with them, that is misconduct, sexual misconduct. So this is the definition here. And how householders, are there 4 kinds of verbal conduct, not in accordance with the Dhamma, unrighteous conduct. Here someone speaks falsehood when summoned to a court, or to a meeting, or to his relatives' presence, or to his guild, or to the royal family's presence, and questioned as a witness does. So good man, tell what you know. Not knowing he says, I know. Or knowing he says, I do not know. Not seeing he says, I see. Or seeing he says, I do not see. In full awareness, he speaks falsehood for his own ends, or for another's ends, or for some trifling worldly end. He speaks maliciously. He repeats elsewhere what he has heard here, in order to divide those people from these. Or he repeats to these people what he has heard elsewhere, in order to divide these people from those. Thus he is one who divides those who are united, a creator of divisions, who enjoys discord, rejoices in discord, delights in discord, a speaker of words that create discord. He speaks harshly. He utters such words as are rough, hard, hurtful to others, offensive to others, bordering on anger, unconducive to concentration. He is a gossip. He speaks at the wrong time, speaks what is not fact, speaks what is useless, speaks contrary to the Dhammavuddho. At the wrong time, he speaks such words as are worthless, unreasonable, immoderate, and unbeneficial. That is how there are 4 kinds of verbal conduct, not in accordance with the Dhamma, unrighteous conduct. Stop here for a moment. So here, the 4 ways we can conduct ourselves wrongly through the mouth, verbally. One is to lie. Secondly is to repeat or carry tales. What you hear A talking bad about B, you go and tell B that A says such and such, and you cause them to quarrel and fight. So you create disharmony. Number 3 is speaking harshly, speaking offensive words. Number 4 is gossip. Here gossip, it is defined as speaking what is not the truth, and speaking at the wrong time, and speaking unbeneficial words. Okay. And how householders, are there three kinds of mental conduct, not in accordance with the Dhamma, unrighteous conduct? Here someone is covetous. He covets the wealth and property of others thus, oh, may what belongs to another be mine. Or he has a mind of ill will and intentions of hate. Thus, may these beings be slain and slaughtered. May they be cut off, perish, or be annihilated. Or he has wrong view, distorted vision thus, there is nothing given, nothing offered, nothing sacrificed, no fruit or result of good and bad actions. No this world or other world, no mother, father, no beings who are reborn spontaneously, no good and virtuous recluses and Brahmins in the world, who have themselves realized by direct knowledge and declare this world and the other world. That is how there are three kinds of mental conduct, not in accordance with the Dhamma, unrighteous conduct. So householders, it is by reason of such conduct, not in accordance with the Dhamma, by reason of such unrighteous conduct, that some beings here, on the dissolution of the body after death, reappear in states of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. Stop here for a moment. So the three kinds of unrighteous or unskillful mental conduct, one is covetousness, wanting other people's wealth and property. Second one is to have a lot of ill will and anger and hatred. The third one is to have wrong view. And wrong view, refers to worldly wrong view. Worldly wrong view here is defined as not believing in karma vipaka, and not believing in other worlds of rebirth. That means in the round of rebirths, not believing. And not believing that there are virtuous recluses who have attained direct knowledge, have attained various levels of holiness. Householders, there are three kinds of bodily conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. There are four kinds of verbal conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. There are three kinds of mental conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. So here this is the reverse. Just try to read through. And how householders, are there three kinds of bodily conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct? Here someone, abandoning the killing of living beings, abstains from killing living beings, with rod and weapon laid aside, gentle and kindly, he abides compassionate to all living beings. Abandoning the taking of what is not given, he abstains from taking what is not given. He does not take by way of theft the wealth and property of others in the village or in the forest. Abandoning misconduct in sensual pleasures, he abstains from misconduct in sensual pleasures. He does not have intercourse with women who are protected by their mother and father, brother, sister or relatives, who have a husband, who are protected by law, or those who are garlanded in token of betrothal. That is how there are three kinds of bodily conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. And how householders, are there four kinds of verbal conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. Here someone, abandoning false speech, abstains from false speech. When summoned to a court, or to a meeting, or to his relative's presence, or to his guild, or to the royal family's presence, and questioned as a witness thus, so good man, tell what you know. Not knowing, he says, I do not know. Or knowing, he says, I know. Not seeing, he says, I do not see. Seeing, he says, I see. He does not in full awareness speak falsehood for his own ends, or for another's ends, or for some trifling worldly end. Abandoning malicious speech, he abstains from malicious speech. He does not repeat elsewhere what he has heard here, in order to divide those people from these, nor does he repeat to these people what he has heard elsewhere, in order to divide these people from those. Thus he is one who reunites those who are divided, a promoter of friendships, who enjoys concord, rejoices in concord, delights in concord, a speaker of words that promote concord. Abandoning harsh speech, he abstains from harsh speech. He speaks such words as are gentle, pleasing to the ear, and lovable, as go to the heart, are courteous, desired by many and agreeable to many. Abandoning gossip, he abstains from gossip. He speaks at the right time, speaks what is fact, speaks on what is good, speaks on the Dhamma Vinaya, At the right time, he speaks such words as are worth recording, reasonable, moderate, and beneficial. That is how there are 4 kinds of verbal conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. And how householders are there 3 kinds of mental conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. Here someone is not covetous. He does not covet the wealth and property of others thus, "Oh, may what belongs to another be mine." His mind is without ill will, and he has intentions free from hate thus. May these beings be free from enmity, affliction, and anxiety. May they live happily. He has right view, undistorted vision thus. There is what is given and what is offered, and what is sacrificed. There is fruit and result of good and bad actions. There is this world and the other world. There is mother and father. There are beings who are reborn spontaneously. There are good and virtuous recluses and Brahmins in the world who have themselves realized by direct knowledge and declare this world and the other world. That is how there are 3 kinds of mental conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. So householders, it is by reason of such conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, by reason of such righteous conduct, that some beings here, on the dissolution of the body after death, reappear in a happy destination, even in the heavenly world. If householders, one who observes conduct, stop here for a moment. So here you see these, when a person conducts himself correctly, righteously, to the body, speech and mind, actually basically it means he is keeping sila. Sila is moral conduct. So moral conduct, actually there are 10 factors here. And moral conduct will bring you to a good rebirth. This sila, moral conduct, is extremely important. All those beings who go to places of suffering like hell and the animal realm, they do not keep sila. They are not. They don't have moral conduct. And those who go to heaven all have moral conduct. If householders, one who observes conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct, should wish, "Oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death, I might reappear in the company of well-to-do nobles." It is possible that on the dissolution of the body after death, he will reappear in the company of well-to-do nobles. Why is that? Because he observes conduct that is accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. If householders, one who observes conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct, should wish, "Oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death, I might reappear in the company of well-to-do Brahmins, or in the company of well-to-do householders." It is possible that on the dissolution of the body after death, he will reappear in the company of well-to-do householders or Brahmins. Why is that? Because he observes conduct that is in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. If householders, one who observes conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct, should wish, "Oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death, I might reappear in the company of the gods of the heaven of the 4 great kings, or in the company of the gods of the heaven of the 33, or the Yama gods, the gods of the Tusita heaven, the gods who create, who delight in creating, the gods who wield power over others' creations, the gods of Brahma's retinue, the gods of radiance, namely the gods of limited radiance, or the gods of immeasurable radiance, or the gods of streaming radiance, or the gods of glory, namely the gods of limited glory, or immeasurable glory, or effulgent glory, or the gods of great fruit, or the Aviha gods, the Atapa gods, the Sudasa gods, the Sudasi gods, the Akanita gods, the gods of the base of infinite space, the gods of the base of infinite consciousness, the gods of the base of nothingness, the gods of the base of neither perception nor non-perception. It is possible that on the dissolution of the body after death, he will reappear in the company of these gods. Why is that? Because he observes conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. Stop here for a moment. So here, the Buddha is talking about these heavens, and he names these heavens. And if we count these heavens, we find in the sensual desire realm, there are 6 heavens. And then in the form realm heavens, starting with Brahma, you have Brahma, which is the first jhana, and the second jhana level, you have the gods of radiance. The gods of radiance, there are three levels: limited radiance, immeasurable radiance, and streaming radiance. That is the second jhana heavens. The third jhana heavens are the gods of glory, and there are three levels: limited glory, immeasurable glory, and refulgent glory. And the fourth jhana heaven, you have the gods of great fruit, Vihappala. And then the other five heavens mentioned are Viha gods, Atapa gods, Sudasi, and Akanita. These are the five levels of the these are pure abodes. Pure abodes. These pure abodes only somebody who has become an anagamin can be reborn in these five heavens. No other beings are reborn there. So, and then the arupas, the arupa heavens, there are four of them. The base of infinite space, then infinite consciousness, then nothingness, then neither perception nor non-perception. That is the arupas. So, if we start to calculate, there are three levels in the woeful planes: hell, animal, and ghost realm. That is three. Then human realm, there is one, so that's four. And sensual realm, there are 6 heavens, and makes up 10 in the desire. In the sensual desire realm, there are 10 levels of beings, 10 planes of existence. And then in the form realm, first jhana, here it mentions only 1. And the second jhana is 3, third jhana is 3, fourth jhana is 6. And then the arupas, there are 4. So you total them up, there are 27 planes of existence. Some books mention 31 planes of existence. How do you get 31? They have 4 more. In the woeful planes, they added 1 more, which is asura. That was added by later writers, not in the original Buddhism. You find that in Mahayana Buddhism. You also find that in Abhidhamma, so which is an indication that Abhidhamma teachings are later. And then in the first jhana heaven, here you only mention, let me see, the Brahma's retinue, the gods of Brahma's retinue. But in some books, they mention 3 levels. So that means you have an additional 2. And then in the fourth jhana heaven, there's a type of beings, presumably is there, asanya satta, beings without perception or consciousness. So that is another one that is missing. So from this, so there will be you total that up, there should be 31. If householders, one who observes conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct, should wish, that by realizing for myself with direct knowledge, I might here and now enter upon and abide in the deliverance by mind, and deliverance by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints. It is possible that by realizing for himself with direct knowledge, he will here and now enter upon and abide in the deliverance by mind and deliverance by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints. Why is that? Because he observes conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct. When this was said, the Brahmin householders of Sala said to the Blessed One, Magnificent Master Gotama, Magnificent Master Gotama. Master Gotama has made the Dhamma clear in many ways, as though he were turning upright what had been overthrown, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the darkness for those with eyesight to see forms. We go to Master Gotama for refuge, and to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha of monks. From today, let Master Gotama accept us as lay followers who have gone to him for refuge for life. That's the end of the sutta. But you see, towards the end where the Buddha says, by observing righteous conduct, we can be reborn in the various heavens. What he does not say is that you have to do more than just keep the 10 precepts. You have to meditate and attain the jhanas to be reborn in the form realm and the formless realm, the arupas. But then what the Buddha is saying is that if we wish to be reborn in any destination of rebirth, we got to have the good karma, and basically the good karma is keeping these 10 righteous ways of righteous conduct, observing the 10 precepts. But if you want to be reborn in the higher heavens, then we have to meditate and attain the various meditative states. And especially if you want to be liberated, then on top of that, we also have to have knowledge of the Dhamma, good knowledge of the Dhamma. Okay, now we come to the next sutta, 42, Veranjaka Sutta, the Brahmins of Veranjaka. The text of this sutta is the same as that of Sutta 41, except that where the preceding sutta is phrased in terms of conduct not in accordance with the Dhamma, unrighteous conduct, and conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, righteous conduct, this sutta is phrased in terms of one who does not observe conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, one of unrighteous conduct, and one who observes conduct in accordance with the Dhamma, one of righteous conduct. And also the Sala is substituted with Veranjaka, a different place. So basically the sutta is similar. Let us come to sutta number 43. This is a very, very important sutta. Mahavedalla Sutta, number 43, the greatest series of questions and answers. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. Then when it was evening, the Venerable Mahakotita rose from meditation, went to the Venerable Sariputta, and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he sat down at one side and said to the Venerable Sariputta, one who is unwise is said, friend. With reference to what is this said, one who is unwise? And the reply was, one does not wisely understand. One does not wisely understand, friend. That is why it is said, one who is unwise. And what doesn't one wisely understand? One does not wisely understand. This is suffering. One does not wisely understand. This is the origin of suffering. One does not wisely understand. This is the cessation of suffering. One does not wisely understand. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. One does not wisely understand. One does not wisely understand. Friend, that is why it is said, one who is unwise. Saying, good friend, the Venerable Mahakotita delighted and rejoiced in the Venerable Sariputta's words. Then he asked him a further question. One who is wise is said, friend. In reference to what is this said? One who is wise. One wisely understands, friend. That is why it is said, one who is wise. What does one wisely understand? One wisely understands, this is suffering. One wisely understands, this is the origin of suffering. One wisely understands, this is the cessation of suffering. One wisely understands, this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. One wisely understands, friend. That is why it is said, one who is wise. Stop here for a moment. So here you see in the Buddha's teachings, a wise person is one who understands the Four Noble Truths. That means one who understands the Dhamma. Because one who understands the Dhamma is walking the good way that will bring him to a good destination of rebirth. Whereas one who does not understand the Dhamma, basically the Four Noble Truths, is a foolish fellow who will end up in the woeful destinations of rebirth. Consciousness is said, friend. With reference to what is consciousness said? It cognizes, friend. That is why consciousness is said. What does it cognize? It cognizes this is pleasant. It cognizes this is painful. It cognizes this is neither painful nor pleasant. It cognizes, friend. That is why consciousness is said. Wisdom and consciousness, friend, are these states conjoined or disjoined? And is it possible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them? Wisdom and consciousness, friend, these states are conjoined, not disjoined, and it is impossible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. For what one wisely understands, that one cognizes, and what one cognizes, that one wisely understands. That is why these states are conjoined, not disjoined, and it is impossible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. What is the difference, friend, between wisdom and consciousness? These states that are conjoined, not disjoined. The difference, friend, between wisdom and consciousness, these states that are conjoined, not disjoined, is this. Wisdom is to be developed. Consciousness is to be fully understood. I'll stop here for a moment. So wisdom and consciousness are related, because here it says, what you understand, that you cognize, and what you cognize, that you understand. But the difference is that wisdom has to be developed, and consciousness has to be fully understood. Consciousness is one of the factors, one of the five aggregates, body, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness, which is also, these five aggregates are basically body and mind. So body and mind, these five aggregates in the Buddha's teachings are impermanent, suffering and not self. But then we tend to identify ourselves with these five aggregates, the body and the mind. So we cling to these five aggregates as I and mine. But because they are impermanent, when they change, they give us suffering, because our body will grow old, become sick and die. So if we attach to it, it gives us suffering. So that's why we have to fully understand all these aggregates, including consciousness, to see them as they really are. Then only we can let go of our attachment for them. And then wisdom is understanding the Dhamma, attaining right view. Then we will have wisdom. Later you find there is more about wisdom. Okay, feeling is said, friend, with reference to what is feeling said. It feels, friend. That is why feeling is said. What does it feel? It feels pleasure, it feels pain, it feels neither pain nor pleasure. It feels, friend. That is why feeling is said. Perception is said, friend. In reference to what is perception said? It perceives, friend. That is why perception is said. What does it perceive? It perceives blue, it perceives yellow, it perceives red, it perceives white. It perceives. That is why perception is said. Feeling, perception and consciousness, friend, are these states conjoined or disjoined? And is it possible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference between them? Feeling, perception and consciousness, friend, these states are conjoined, not disjoined. It is impossible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference between them. For what one feels, that one perceives, and what one perceives, that one cognizes. That is why these states are conjoined, not disjoined. It is impossible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference between them. We think about it, this feeling, perception and consciousness. Feeling is a type of consciousness also. Perception also is a type of consciousness. But because we can differentiate between them, consciousness normally refers to eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose, etc., the six consciousnesses. So that is why the Buddha differentiated them. Otherwise, they are just part of the mind. And here you see the explanation of perception. It perceives blue, yellow, red, white, etc. So one person might perceive blue, another person might not perceive blue. If he's colorblind, he might perceive green maybe. So perception is not an absolute. For example, you see somebody, you might perceive that person is handsome or beautiful. Somebody else may not see that person as handsome or beautiful. Or you might like somebody and you think that fellow is a great guy, very likable. But his enemy will see him differently, will have a different perception. See, so perception is what you say, subjective. Okay, to continue. Friend, what can be known by purified mind consciousness released from the 5 faculties? Friend, by purified mind consciousness released from the 5 faculties, the base of infinite space can be known thus. Space is infinite. The base of infinite consciousness can be known thus. Consciousness is infinite. The base of nothingness can be known thus. There is nothing. Friend, with what does one understand a state that can be known? Friend, one understands a state that can be known with the eye of wisdom. Friend, what is the purpose of wisdom? The purpose of wisdom, friend, is direct knowledge. Its purpose is full understanding. Its purpose is abandoning. I'll stop here for a moment. Here, there are 2 things here very important. Here, it says to attain the base of infinite space, which is arupa jhana. The mind consciousness has to be released from the 5 faculties. The 5 faculties are the eye faculty, seeing faculty, hearing, smelling, taste, and touch faculties. In other words, for a person to enter the arupa jhana, these 5 faculties must close. 5 faculties must close. So here is very clear. To attain arupa jhana, these 5 senses close down. Not in the rupa jhana. Not in rupa jhana. It's only in the arupa jhana. Remember, was it yesterday, we read about the rupa jhanas, where it is said that when a person attains the first rupa jhana, he makes this piti and sukha, delight and pleasure, fill his body, pervade his body, right? So he's still conscious of his body. He's not unconscious of his body. So it's only in the arupa jhana that these 5 senses close. The other thing at the bottom here is very, very important. The purpose of wisdom is direct knowledge, full understanding and abandoning. You can say this is the characteristic of knowledge. Direct knowledge means seeing clearly things as they really are. Then you have direct knowledge. And then from that, from seeing clearly, you understand it fully. And when you understand the Dhamma fully, you abandon, you let go. So if a person practices, for example, he says he's meditating to attain wisdom, but if he cannot let go, cannot abandon sensual desires, sensual pleasures, and etc., then he has no wisdom according to his. So wisdom has these 3 characteristics: directly knowing, and then fully understanding, and letting go. This is very important. You got to understand this. Friend, how many conditions are there for the arising of right view? Friend, there are 2 conditions for the arising of right view: the voice of another and wise attention or careful attention. These are the 2 conditions for the arising of right view. Friend, by how many factors is right view assisted when it has deliverance by mind for its fruit, deliverance by mind for its fruit and benefit? When it has deliverance by wisdom for its fruit, deliverance by wisdom for its fruit and benefit. Friend, right view is assisted by 5 factors when it has deliverance by mind for its fruit, deliverance by mind for its fruit and benefit. When it has deliverance by wisdom for its fruit, deliverance by wisdom for its fruit and benefit. Here, friend, right view is assisted by virtue, learning, discussion, serenity and insight. Right view assisted by these 5 factors has deliverance by mind for its fruit, deliverance by mind for its fruit and benefit. It has deliverance by wisdom for its fruit, deliverance by wisdom for its fruit and benefit. I'll stop here for a moment. This is another extremely important section which you have to note and keep in mind. only two conditions, according to this sutta, for the arising of right view. Once right view arises, you enter the stream. A person enters the stream, becomes a Arya, a noble person, by attaining right view. All Aryans have right view, and the basic condition is right view. And you see here very clearly, it is by the voice of another and wise attention or proper attention. That means you have to hear the Dhamma from somebody, then only you can, and you pay careful attention or wise attention, then only you get right view. It is not like some people say by meditation. By meditation itself, you don't get right view. So it's here very clear here. The arising of right view and entering the stream is hearing the Dhamma from another. Of course, hearing the Dhamma nowadays is not hearing the voice, but also reading the suttas in black and white. And then when we listen to the Dhamma or we are reading the suttas, we pay proper attention, thorough attention, and then we are concentrated, the mind is concentrated, then you understand. The other thing is, once you have right view to attain liberation, then 5 other factors are important. Virtue is sila, moral conduct. Secondly, is learning. Learning refers to much knowledge of the Dhamma, much knowledge of the Dhamma, much knowledge of the suttas, Dhamma savana. The third one is Dhamma sakacca. Dhamma sakacca is discussion of the Dhamma. That's why you notice during the Buddha's time, all the monks would discuss the Dhamma in the evening, after meditating the whole day. When the sun sets, they will come together to discuss the Dhamma. And then serenity is a translation for samatha. Samatha is tranquility, meditation. The purpose is to attain the jhanas. And then the last word inside here, the Pali word is vipassana. Vipassana means contemplation, and that can be considered as the 7th factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. Samasati. Samasati is right recollection, contemplation of 4 things. Contemplation of the body, feelings, mind, and Dhamma. Dhamma refers to the Buddha's Dhamma, the suttas. So this translation inside is not exactly correct. The more proper word is contemplation. This serenity and insight, samatha vipassana, the Chinese translation is quite correct. Zhi guan. Zhi is stilling the mind. Guan is contemplation. So that's the meaning of vipassana. So you got to have moral conduct. You have to have much knowledge of the suttas, and then you should discuss the Dhamma, and then you practice tranquility meditation to attain one-pointedness of mind, and then you contemplate the 4 objects of sati. And out of these 4 objects, the most important is the Dhamma, the Buddha's Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha. Because as I mentioned before, out of the 5 occasions of liberation, arahanthood is attained during 5 occasions. One is listening to the Dhamma, teaching the Dhamma, reflecting on the Dhamma, repeating the Dhamma, and only the last one is meditation. So 4 out of these 5 occasions of liberation have to do with the Dhamma. So knowledge of the Dhamma is extremely important. So this last one, vipassana, actually, since it is referring to liberation, it would mean contemplation of the Dhamma. Friend, how many kinds of beings are there? There are these 3 kinds of being, friend. Sense sphere being, fine material being, and immaterial being. Friend, how is renewal of being in the future generated? Friend, renewal of being in the future is generated through the delighting in this and that on the part of beings who are hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving. Friend, how is renewal of being in the future not generated? Friend, with the fading away of ignorance, with the arising of true knowledge, And with the cessation of craving, renewal of being in the future is not generated. I stop here for a moment. In the Buddha's teachings, this round of rebirths is due to craving. If you have craving, three types of craving: craving of sensual pleasures, craving for existence, and craving for non-existence. So, if you have craving, this renewal of being in the future is generated. And here it says delighting in this and that, because the world, the Buddha says, is a world of suffering. So, because if we just do nothing, we find that life is boring, life is suffering. So we always try to find something to entertain us. So we keep delighting in this and that. If you take delight in something, after some time it becomes stale, becomes boring. And then when you have too much of it, it becomes suffering. It's a nuisance already. So you have to change your interest. Keep changing your interest. So that's why you delight in this and that. And that is what normally people do. So that is the condition for the renewal of being in the future, the round of rebirths. Friend, what is the first jhana? Here, friend, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, a monk enters upon and abides in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought, the rapture with delight and pleasure born of seclusion. This is called the first jhana. Friend, how many factors does the first jhana have? Friend, the first jhana has 5 factors. Here, when a monk has entered upon the first jhana, there occurs applied thought, sustained thought, delight, pleasure, and unification of mind. That is how the first jhana has 5 factors. Friend, how many factors are abandoned in the first jhana, and how many factors are possessed? Friend, in the first jhana, 5 factors are abandoned, and 5 factors are possessed. Here, when a monk has entered upon the first jhana, sensual desire is abandoned, ill will is abandoned, sloth and torpor are abandoned, restlessness and remorse are abandoned, and doubt is abandoned, and there occur applied thought, sustained thought, delight, pleasure, and unification of mind. That is how in the first jhana, 5 factors are abandoned and 5 factors are possessed. Stop here for a moment. So, there are 5 jhana factors. For a person to enter the first jhana, 5 conditions must be there. Applied thought, sustained thought, vitaka, vichara. Then delight is piti. Pleasure or happiness is sukha. And unification of mind, or one-pointedness of mind, is ekagata. So this is in the suttas, is only these 5 factors that bring you into the first jhana. But later books like the Visuddhimagga, they stress on light, talk about seeing the light, and to them the light is a very necessary condition for the first jhana. But this is not what is stated in the suttas. In the suttas, light is not important. Only these 5 factors are important. Also, when a person attains the jhanas, the 5 hindrances are abandoned. Sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and remorse and doubt. And we saw earlier in the simile of the abandonment of the 5 hindrances that they are eliminated, not just during the time of the jhana, even out of the jhana. Friend, these 5 faculties each have a separate field, a separate domain, and do not experience each other's field and domain. That is, the eye faculty, ear faculty, nose faculty, tongue faculty, and body faculty. Now, of these 5 faculties, each having a separate field, a separate domain, not experiencing each other's field and domain, what is their refuge? What experiences their fields and domains? Stop here for a moment. This word resort here is a translation for pati sarana. Pati sarana basically is refuge. So like we Buddhang saranang gacchami, this sarana is refuge. Friend, these 5 faculties each have a separate field, a separate domain, and do not experience each other's field and domain. That is the eye faculty, ear, nose, tongue, body faculty. Now these 5 faculties each having a separate field, a separate domain, not experiencing each other's field and domain, have mind as their refuge, and mind experiences their fields and domains. Friend, as to these five faculties, that is the eye faculty, ear, nose, tongue, body faculty, what do these five faculties stand in dependence on? Friend, as to these five faculties, that is the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body faculties, these five faculties stand in dependence on life. Ayu here is translated as vitality, but I prefer life. Friend, what does life stand in dependence on? Life stands in dependence on heat. Friend, what does heat stand in dependence on? Heat stands in dependence on life. Just now, friend, we understood the Venerable Sariputta to have said, life stands in dependence on heat, and now we understand him to say, heat stands in dependence on life. How should the meaning of these statements be regarded? In that case, friend, I shall give you a simile, for some wise men here understand the meaning of a statement by means of a simile. Just as when an oil lamp is burning, its radiance is seen in dependence on its flame, and its flame is seen in dependence on its radiance. So too, life stands in dependence on heat, and heat stands in dependence on life. Stop here for a moment. So here it says that the five faculties, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body, have mind as their refuge. Mind experiences the fields and domains. And these five faculties depend on life. Ayu. These five faculties stand in dependence on life. If there is no life, then these five faculties will cease to exist. And life stands in dependence on heat. When there is heat in our body, there is life. And vice versa. And when heat in our body also depends on our body being alive. If our body is not alive, you will not have heat. So that's why sometimes if a person falls into a freezing river or pond, then all the heat is taken up by the water, and you die of what? Hypothermia. You cannot live. Now we come to paragraph 23. Friend, is life volition a state of feeling, or is life volition one thing and states of feeling another? Life volition, friend, is not a state of feeling. If life volition was a state of feeling, then when a monk has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling, he would not be seen to emerge from it. Because life volition is one thing and states of feeling another. When a monk has entered upon a cessation of perception and feeling, he can be seen to emerge from it. Stop here for a moment. Here I translate this life volition. The Pali is Ayu Sankara. Ayu Sankara. Ayu is life. Sankara is volition. Generally, Sankara, like in the five aggregates, Sankara is also volition. So here, life volition, the intention to live, you can say the will to live, is not feeling. Friend, when this body is bereft of how many states, is it then discarded and forsaken, left lying senseless like a log? Friend, when this body is bereft of three states, life, heat and consciousness, it is then discarded and forsaken, left lying senseless like a log. Friend, what is the difference between one who is dead, who has completed his time, and a monk who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling? Friend, in the case of one who is dead, who has completed his time, his bodily volition has ceased and subsided, his verbal volition has ceased and subsided, his mental volitions have ceased and subsided, his life is exhausted, his heat has been dissipated, and his faculties are fully broken up. In the case of a monk who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling, his body volitions have ceased and subsided, his verbal volitions have ceased and subsided, his mental volitions have ceased and subsided, but his life is not exhausted, his heat has not been dissipated, and his faculties become exceptionally clear. That is the difference between one who is dead, who has completed his time, and a monk who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling. Stop here for a moment. So here we're talking about life volition, the will to live. It's not feeling. When a monk enters this cessation of perception and feeling, you see, perception and feeling, just now we said, are conjoined with this consciousness. So when cessation and feeling ceases, consciousness also ceases. And consciousness refers to the 6 consciousnesses. So when a monk enters this state, it is called Nirodha Samapatti, attainment of cessation. And this basically is like Parinibbana. The state of Parinibbana is when the 6 consciousnesses stop. So when a monk enters this state, it's an extremely high state. When he comes out of it, he'll become an arahant. So since this is stated here, life volition, the will to live, is not a feeling. If life volition were a feeling, the will to live were a feeling, when a monk enters this cessation of perception and feeling, then he has given up the will to live, then he cannot emerge from it, because he still has the will to live. So even when he enters this state of no consciousness, because of the will to live, he can emerge from this state. And then it says here, another interesting thing is, when a body really dies, 3 things leave him: life, heat, and consciousness. So from here, you know, these 3 things are life, heat, and consciousness. Out of these 3, only one we can detect easily is the body heat. So if somebody has passed away, if you feel his body is still warm, don't go and burn him, don't go and cremate him, or don't go and bury him, otherwise he might wake up in the coffin. So only when the body is cold and you know he's definitely dead, he won't come out, he won't wake up again. So when a person is really dead, these 3 things stop: life, heat, and consciousness. Very often, a doctor, when he examines a dying person, sometimes the doctor will say this person is dead. And the doctor comes to that conclusion because the breath has stopped, and the pulse has stopped, the heart has stopped, and the breathing has stopped. But sometimes that is only clinical death. Sometimes that is not really dead yet. So it's quite common. Sometimes a person is pronounced clinically dead, and then it will be 1 or 2 hours later that that person actually dies. That's why, like one of the Penang devotees told me, when the mother died of cancer, the last stage, she was in great pain. So when the doctor pronounced her dead, her face was contorted in pain. Could see the pain in her face. But 1 hour later, her face changed, and she had a glowing face, a very happy face, smiling face, full of happiness. That shows her last thoughts were good thoughts. And the last thoughts depend on our karma, our everyday mind. If you have a person with a good heart, you have good thoughts generally. That is your wavelength. So your last thoughts, your natural frequency will go into your natural frequency. A person who cultivates himself on the spiritual path, he meditates, calms the mind. So those last thoughts will be very peaceful, and that will bring you to a peaceful place like heaven. So remember, when a person dies, 3 things leave him: life, heat, and consciousness. So if there is the body is cold, then only you know for sure that the person has died. So also the difference between a dead person and a person who has entered the cessation of perception and feeling is that the dead person, his faculties are broken up, and his body becomes cold, and then the other person, the meditator who enters the cessation, or perception and feeling, he can still wake up. His body is still warm, and his faculties are exceptionally clear. Friend, how many conditions are there for the attainment of the neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind? Friend, there are 4 conditions for the attainment of the neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind. Here, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, a monk enters upon and abides in the 4th jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and utter purity of mindfulness and equanimity. These are the 4 conditions for the attainment of the neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind. Friend, how many conditions are there for the attainment of the signless deliverance of mind? Friend, there are 2 conditions for the attainment of the signless deliverance of mind: non-attention to all signs and attention to the signless element. These are the 2 conditions for the attainment of the signless deliverance of mind. Friend, how many conditions are there for the persistence of the signless deliverance of mind? Friend, there are 3 conditions for the persistence of the signless deliverance of mind: non-attention to all signs, attention to the signless element, and the prior determination of its duration. These are the 3 conditions for the persistence of the signless deliverance of mind. Friend, how many conditions are there for emergence from the signless deliverance of mind? Friend, there are 2 conditions for emergence from the signless deliverance of mind: attention to all signs and non-attention to the signless element. These are the 2 conditions for emergence from the signless deliverance of mind. I'll stop here for a moment. So here, the attainment of the neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind refers to the 4th jhana, the 4th rupa jhana. And to attain signless deliverance of mind, there are 2 conditions, not paying attention to all signs and paying attention to the signless element. And if you want this to persist, then you have to make a prior determination, adhitthana, determination to stay for a certain period in that before entering it. Friend, the immeasurable deliverance of mind, the deliverance of mind through nothingness, the deliverance of mind through voidness, and the signless deliverance of mind. Are these states different in meaning and different in name? Or are they one in meaning and different only in name? Friend, the immeasurable deliverance of mind, the deliverance of mind through nothingness, the deliverance of mind through voidness, and the signless deliverance of mind. There is a way in which these states are different in meaning and different in name, and there is a way in which they are one in meaning and different only in name. What, friend, is the way in which these states are different in meaning and different in name? Here a monk abides pervading 1/4 with the mind imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the 2nd, the 3rd, 4th. So above, below, around and everywhere, as to all as to himself, he abides pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. He abides pervading 1/4 with a mind imbued with compassion, with joy, with equanimity. Likewise the 2nd, likewise the 3rd, likewise the 4th, etc. This is called the immeasurable deliverance of mind. And what, friend, is the deliverance of mind through nothingness? Here, with the complete surmounting of the base of infinite consciousness, aware that there is nothing, a monk enters upon and abides in the base of nothingness. This is called the deliverance of mind through nothingness. And what, friend, is the deliverance of mind through voidness? Here, a monk gone to the forest or to the root of a tree or to an empty hut reflects thus: this is void of a self, or of what belongs to a self. This is called the deliverance of mind through voidness. And what, friend, is the signless deliverance of mind? Here, with non-attention to all signs, a monk enters upon and abides in the signless concentration of mind. This is called the signless deliverance of mind. This is the way in which these states are different in meaning and different in name. And what, friend, is the way in which these states are one in meaning and different only in name? Lust is a maker of measurement. Hate is a maker of measurement. Delusion is a maker of measurement. In a monk whose stains are destroyed, these are abandoned, cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, done away with, so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Of all the kinds of immeasurable deliverance of mind, the unshakable deliverance of mind is pronounced the best. Now, that unshakable deliverance of mind is void of lust, void of hate, void of delusion. Lust is a something, hate is a something, delusion is a something. In a monk whose stains are destroyed, these are abandoned, cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, done away with, so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Of all the kinds of deliverance of mind to nothingness, the unshakable deliverance of mind is pronounced the best. Now that unshakable deliverance of mind is void of lust, hatred and delusion. Lust is a maker of signs, hatred is a maker of signs, delusion is a maker of signs. In a monk whose stains are destroyed, these are abandoned, cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, done away with, so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Of all the kinds of signless deliverance of mind, the unshakable deliverance of mind is pronounced the best. Now that unshakable deliverance of mind is void of lust, void of hate, void of delusion. This is the way in which these states are one in meaning and different only in name. That is what the Venerable Sariputta said. The Venerable Mahakotita was satisfied and delighted in the Venerable Sariputta's words. At the end, that's the end of the sutta. So just to recap, because this sutta is extremely important, I just like to recap the important points. On page 389, to attain the arupas or arupa jhana, the 5 sense doors are closed. Only at that time, the 5 sense doors closed, not in rupa jhana. Secondly, at the bottom, the purpose of wisdom, you can see, is directly knowing what you want to contemplate and fully understanding. And by fully understanding the Dhamma, we let go, we abandon. So the last one is a true sign of knowledge, a true sign of wisdom. If a person is wise, really wise, he will let go of those things that give us suffering, worldly things. Then on page 390, the condition for the rising of right view, the voice of another and wise attention. Only by listening to the Dhamma and paying proper attention can you get right view and enter the stream. Without listening to the Dhamma from another person, you will not be able to become an Arya. That's why in the Buddha's teachings, the knowledge of the Dhamma is extremely important. Then after that, to attain enlightenment, you need moral conduct, knowledge of the Dhamma, discussion of the Dhamma, and then samatha and vipassana, practicing meditation and contemplation. And then on page 392, we find that when a body dies, then 3 things leave him: life or vitality, and then heat and consciousness. And out of these 3, only heat you can sense. So only when a person's the dying person, the body has become cold, then you can be sure that the person is dead and will not revive. Okay, these are the important points. So I'll stop here.
Observing eye perception. The perception the 6 and 4 aspects.
What 4 aspects? What which 4 aspects?
No, something about lying.
Say again. When one keeps the 5 precepts.
The precept Nikāya.
Oh yes. Because originally, the Buddha taught that lay people should keep 7 precepts, and these 7 precepts refers to the 3 body precepts and the 4 verbal precepts. That was originally what the Buddha taught, and then later, one monk, because there was no precept against liquor, a monk, because of being famous, people somehow got to know that he has psychic power. So when he went on his alms round, people offered him liquor, and he drank from house to house until he got drunk and fell down on the road. So he had to be carried back to the monastery. From there, the Buddha made this precept against taking intoxicants. Then the Buddha talked about 5 precepts, not 7. But these 5 precepts would include that 4th precept, musavada, the precept against lying, would actually mean 4 precepts. Not to lie, not to carry tales and cause disharmony, not to speak coarse or vulgar words, and not to engage in gossip. Because if you look from the Noble Eightfold Path, the Sila aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path consists of 3 factors: right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Right speech, there are 4 precepts. Right action, there are 3 precepts. And right livelihood does not include any precept. It's covered by right speech and right action. So if we go by the Noble Eightfold Path, 7 precepts are important. These are the basic. If you have these, if you keep these 7 precepts well, you're on the way to becoming an Arya. You have the qualification to become an Arya.
So far we have Buddha addressing monks. We were basically related to the seems to me all these issues are very high. Bhante, discourses in the last few days have been concentrated on the focus on monks, and because the attainments are very high, perhaps we will not be easily achieved by lay people because of so many distractions in our lay people world. So it seems to me that to get into the higher jhana, you have to be a monk. Can you please correct the misconception there?
Yes. To get into jhana, you either have to be a monk, and not only that, you have to be a reclusive monk, a monk who lives a solitary lifestyle and aloof from people, aloof from society. Even if he stays in a monastery, he doesn't like to talk with people. His mind is always on his meditation object. Only that way he can attain the jhanas. And for lay people, if the lay person, like during the Buddha's time, there were a few lay people who attained the 4 jhanas. But then the lifestyle, if you look at their lifestyle, they are basically like a monk at home. They have nothing to do with their wives. They lock themselves in the room, and their room becomes their cave, and they spend all their time in their room meditating. And all their business they left to their wife. So if you are willing to be a reclusive lay person, you can also attain the jhanas.
As a follow-up question, I've heard that if a lay person were to be enlightened, to be a monk, otherwise he dies within a week. I've heard that, I don't know.
That's why you have to read the suttas more, then you will know. In the suttas, we can see that when a lay person attains arahanthood, he will not want to stay at home anymore. He has lost that old self. The old self has died. The Buddha says he is reborn from the mouth of the Buddha. What later books added was this statement that if he does not renounce, he will die within 24 hours. This is not true. He will not die. No. But he will not want to stay at home anymore. He's no more that old guy. There are a lot of things later books wrote which are just rubbish, just added extra things just to say. For example, they say that the Pacceka Buddha cannot teach. The Pacceka Buddha has no ability to teach. That's not true, because like our Sakyamuni Buddha, at first he wanted to be a Pacceka Buddha. And then later this Brahma Sampati came to appeal to him 3 times. Then only he changed his mind and decided to teach. So if he decided not to teach, he would have become a Pacceka Buddha. And you can see from there that Pacceka Buddhas have the ability to teach, because Understandable. If a Pacheka Buddha has become enlightened, he knows exactly the way to enlightenment. Why can't he teach people the way to enlightenment? No reason he cannot teach. Just that he's not inclined to teach. Okay. Can we translate it?